Nothing new. Today's red zone, getting ready for these guys, and kind of dress rehearsal, red zone, and then the rest of base, third down, cleanup. So, been a good week. Questions?
Anything new on the injury front with Brock or JAHMYR? You expect either one of those guys to be out there today?
Probably unlikely.
What about James Houston? I know earlier in the week you said it's probably unlikely that he gets it to go this week. Has that changed since you've seen him practice?
I would say it has not. He did more this week than he did last week, but he's still a ways out.
Talk about the challenge he faces maybe next week, having his first game in 4 months, potentially being a playoff game.
You're speaking about Houston. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot to ask. Not that it can't happen, because I know this. He looked a lot better this week than last week, or when we got him up. And so, whenever you're coming off an injury, any player, it's just a matter of how fast you can get your confidence back in your own abilities, your body. You're rusty. It takes a minute to get used to what it is, because it's not going to feel like it did before. It just never does. So a lot of that will be just time on task, him out there moving, running, and see how far he can come.
And you guys have 6 takeaways, I think, the last 2 weeks. I know you've talked about this before, how they sort of snowball. I mean, is this something that you've seen that maybe can carry into the playoffs too, just what you guys have done defensively here?
I do. I just felt like that was the last little element there for us defensively, and they're on the come now. They're showing up, and we're playing aggressive style football. We're going after the football. We're getting after the quarterback. Everybody's doing their responsibility, and then our safeties are getting hands on the ball. And when they do, they're making the plays on them. And then just there again, being able to get to the quarterback and get it out of his hand is showing up. So I want to believe that's here to stay. My history says it does. If not, it's because we're not playing at a certain level now that it's starting to show up. So, it's going to be important for us. It's important, but yeah, this is when you want it to show this time of year.
One of the core tenets of your coaching philosophy is you're direct and you're honest with your players about their situation, and sometimes it's not what they want to hear, but we saw that a little bit with Graham early in the season, right? He didn't really like the answer he got. Sounds like CJ's not particularly happy with what he's kind of been told about his maybe role immediately coming off injury here. So I'm just wondering how you deal with that as a coach when the news isn't what the player wants to hear. How do you keep everybody still rowing in the same direction?
Yeah, well, first of all, Deuce is a competitor. I mean, he just is. I mean, he wants to play, and he wants to play every snap, and I appreciate that. I think we all do. So, but I think between myself and AG, when those come up and like that, we're just very direct. You tell it from the get-go, and here's why. And look, Deucey's a pro at the end of the day. He wants to play. He wants to be a part of it, and doesn't mean that he has to like it, but he's going to go out there, and when he's on the field, he's going to give what he's got, and that's the most important thing. So I think as long as we're all open and direct with each other, and they know where we're coming from and we know where they're coming from, you don't have to like it, but you respect it.
Does this also kind of fall into the Houston answer you just gave? Like, this is a guy coming off injury, maybe not rust, but there's an element of protecting them from themselves. This is a serious injury he was coming off of. Is that factor into your decision-making process?
It does. I mean, you want to know, first of all, they need to have confidence in themselves, but you have to also be honest and open about it as a coach, looking at the player and saying they may be trying to talk themselves into it, but they're not there yet. And yeah, I think you got to be prepared to save them from themselves somewhat.
Is he there yet? Is he to the point where he can contribute for you?
No. Like right now, no. But like I say, he's better than he was last week. And so we'll see where he goes next week, And I'm not like this, none of this, from what I've just seen now that he's been out, I'm not surprised by any of it. I mean, I expected what I saw, It's just, that's the way it is when it's been a while. And you're coming off the injury he came off of. It's going to take a minute to get to feel good about it, you know. And then, okay, now I feel good about it. Now that I feel good about it, how do I win and produce with it? It's one thing to just go, okay, I can go out there and run around, but if you can't produce, that doesn't help him or us.
You got a little illness going around, or are you dealing with it too? How do you?
I'm on the backside of mine. I feel great. I feel great.
You guys got Justin Jefferson second time in 3 weeks. Is this kind of a dress rehearsal for preparing for these big play receivers once they become the norm in the playoffs here?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go against the receivers, we're going against it. You know, and you have to put attention and give attention to these guys, and then, you know, when it's not attention, you're in a one-on-one with them. It only makes you better, and ultimately, all you can ask for, I mean, go out there and compete. Just compete, you know, and forget about that. We know what kind of player he is, but as long as you're giving the very best you have, and you're not beat before the snap starts, that's what we're looking for, and so it only makes you better, you know. And we've said it before. It's a hell of a receiver now. He's a difference maker. He's a dynamic player, and we got our hands full. But I do like our guys, man. Our guys are. I always believe they accept the challenge and they're ready to go.
To go back to the illness thing, it obviously is a bit a few guys. Ben had it a couple weeks ago. Your defensive line kind of got banged up a couple weeks ago. I believe you had like a flu vaccine situation here in the summer, 2021. I think you had like a little spread of things that was non-COVID related. How much of, you know, having that, you know, available to your players here in the summer was a response to that, or is that something that has been around the league a while, just trying to make sure you guys can get to the finish line when these illnesses hit in the winter?
Yeah, we always have it available. We're always, you know, now that with COVID, when it came about, you know, a few years ago, so we always have it. Like, here we go, man. We've got the shots available. It's up to you if you take it or not. And so, yeah, you're just trying to do the best you can to hopefully eliminate the spread of it to where it hits at the wrong time. And we do. We got a little bit going around, but I think probably a lot of teams do too. So it's part of it, and you do the best you can. You try to quarantine some guys if you think it's bad enough. But ultimately, it's just going to work its way around, and we're going to have some guys who are going to play that don't feel good this weekend. It's coming. I already know. And guys that seem to be pretty good today. I'm already prepared. Saturday night, we're going to hear about somebody wasn't feeling good. I hate to say it, but it's just going to happen. But we'll get through it. You know, it'll work its way through the players, and then we'll be done with it.
Little bit of a fun one. I don't know why we forgot to ask you a couple weeks ago, but there was a check or whatever you want to call it from Sean Payton and the Broncos. Dan Campbell. It's a nice little run on second and long. And just and what you thought of that, if you saw it, and then I guess how often do you like to, you know, have a little fun with some of your wording, with your verbiage, with your audibles and checks throughout the season?
Yeah, we'll do some things at times. Sean was always good about that. You know, there would be, you know, depending on if somebody you're getting ready to play, or you know, something that for whatever reason it hits your brain, so then you're going to give it to the players, and here's the call. So, you know, we've been pretty vanilla with ours, you know, all in all, and I don't want to give what ours are. But anyway, you know, it's, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's good. I think it was a trap. So, you know.
Hey, real quick before you leave, you guys did have this first time we talked to you since Pro Bowl stuff came out. You had 5 guys that were selected, 7 alternates. And I know some of those guys wanted to be picked, but what did you say just about how far you've come to have that many people?
Yeah, look, you know, I'm happy for every one of those guys. That's a credit to them for the way they've worked, but also the team. You know, when you win, that's what happens. You get noticed more, and the play of some of your guys some of them that have played very well don't always get noticed until you start winning, and then everybody sees it, you know. But yeah, we've come a long way, and it's a credit to all those guys. You know, I'm always going to think we deserve to have more on there, just knowing some of our players and where they're at. But it's a good sign, you know, and I'm happy for those guys.
Dan, what have you learned about Jared that you maybe didn't expect before you coached him?
Man, well, I think it's hard to say. You know, from afar, you always, you know, I've alluded to this before, but just standing across the sideline from him, I always thought of him as a very, you know, I just saw him in big-time games at our place, and to watch him stand in there and make another throw and get hit and get off the ground, I always thought of him as a tough player. And so with that, you think of he's probably pretty resilient to be able to do the things he does. But until you're around him, like I've been around him, I don't want to say it surprised me, but yet you really get to understand just how resilient he is and how his ability to bounce back. He can look at a situation and take it for what it is. Like, this is not a, you know, all of a sudden I've turned into, I'm not a good quarterback anymore. I'm not doing it's simply, I've got to do this with my footwork. I've got to be faster in my progression. I'm drifting too far here in the pocket. Like, he can look at it and look at the substance of it and correct, auto-correct, and not lose confidence. He knows, I just got to correct this. I just got to do this better. And he never gets too high, he never gets too low. And I think that's exactly where you want your quarterback to be.